Good afternoon. This is up there. My name is Paul Simmons. The day job is I'm the CISO of ICI, which for the Americans in the audience is the third largest chemical company in the world. You'd know us if you're a regular visitor to Home Depot as Glidden Paints, Ralph Lauren Paint, Liquid Nails, and your wives' girlfriends will probably be wearing one of our perfumes. Unfortunately, we only make the base product. We don't get all the markup that those nice people make from putting it in with a little bit of alcohol and glossy marketing. But there we are. For my sins, the nighttime job is I sit on the board of a thing called the Jericho Forum. For those of you who are here, for the last 2 years, we did the keynote 2 years ago here, and last year spoke about the progress that had been made. Jericho has existed for about 2.5 years. This is a double session. The way this session is going to work is, I'm afraid, session 1 you have to put up with me. It's a deperimeterization primer. Don't try to say that after the parties tonight. Doesn't come out right. But it's a deperimeterization primer. We're going to talk about a thing called the Jericho Forum Commandments. And then, being this is basically one of the last sessions of the day, a whole load of free stuff you can take away with it sitting on the website at the moment. I'm going to run through it, what it is, what you can use, what you can take into your businesses and take away with you. After that, session 2 is going to be basically a panel discussion where we're going to outline what we're calling the Jericho Forum Challenge. This is year 2 of the Jericho Forum Challenge, but it's bigger, better, and has an awful lot more prize money attached. Currently negotiating with people at the moment, but we are talking $250,000. If we can get the sponsorship. No, seriously, currently it's underwritten to the tune of about $50,000. So it's still serious. Okay, so that's what's going to happen this afternoon. We're going to pray that this PC stays working. It's very sick at the moment. It keeps on blue screening, so we'll thank Mr. Gates if it does that halfway through this presentation. Okay, so for those of you who's just first a show of hands, who has not heard of the word deperimeterization before? Oh, one brave person at the back. Thank you very much. I'm presuming everyone else has. Okay, so what is it? Well, it's this. It's fundamentally an acceptance that in today's world, most decent exploits, we've been hearing about the decent exploits throughout the 2 days of the conference, most decent exploits are going to transit your perimeter security. For those of you who got hit by Blaster, who got hit by Slammer, you know, application attacks now are the name of the game. I was sitting in a presentation earlier and someone was quoting Gartner saying 70% of attacks are application-based attacks. No, you know, sure, the automated tools are out there, the script kiddies are still attacking your perimeters, but at the end of the day, that's a nuisance. It's noise. It's not a serious attack anymore. Anyone with a serious attack is going to find other ways inside your organization. All your perimeters are inhibiting business. That's the reality. So you're letting through email, you're letting through web. Phishing exploits both of those at the end of the day. They're trying to get, send you an email to get you to click on a poison website, because they know that's the easy way through into your organization. And as a CISO, if I went to my board and said, we think the web is a little bit too risky, we'd like to switch it off. Yeah? What's known as a CLM, or a career limiting move. Yeah? You're going to have to let through voice over IP through your border sooner or later. You probably haven't been asked to do that quite yet. It's probably sitting inside your organization. But within the next year, you'll be told, business imperative, let through voice over IP, because we have a need to actually communicate or add to our phone exchange outside of our organization. All those home workers, all those distributed call center workers, whatever you have inside your organization, I can guarantee you it will happen. You're letting through more and more encrypted traffic, SSL, TLS, VPNs, the whole lot. We all have multiple partner connections. I have 3,000 different connections into my organizations from organizations that I don't control. Yeah? To give you a size of my network, the network that I own runs in 335 sites in 55 countries and has 35,000 IP addresses on it. And on top of that, I have 10,000 laptop users roaming around the world. And I said, I've got about 3,000 joint venture business partner connections of some description or another connected to my network. Can I control them? No. Let's be honest about this. Yeah. No, I'm not sure it's my network. Absolutely. This is why we're talking about deperimeterization. Yeah? It's not a question of deperimeterization as a concept. It's deperimeterization has happened to you. You might not have realized it, but it's happened to you. And what I'm saying is, I'm a very normal corporation. So if you don't recognize that picture, I'd probably argue that you're missing a trick. It's happened to you already. So what's its effect? And this goes exactly to your point. The first one, your border has effectively become a quality of service boundary. The only reason you're running a very expensive MPLS network to connect all your corporate sites together is you want to have some guarantee of how fast and how reliably the traffic roams around inside your network. That's assuming you don't get hit by blaster or slammer or whatever thing else, that takes your network down. But assuming you don't have a major virus outbreak or worm outbreak inside your network, owning your own network to some extent guarantees you quality of service. Does it guarantee you security? Not much. We certainly don't regard it as a quality of service boundary anymore. And certainly protection has little or no benefit at the perimeter because you can't control it. Ultimately, here's the key one. It's easier to protect data, your crown jewels, the closer you get to it. I was in Denver about a year back, and President Bush was visiting. And they shut off all the roads, as you could tell he was coming, because they shut off all the freeway and put police cars over all the bridges and everything else. And then about 20 minutes later, this motorcade came streaming through. Yeah, it's called close protection. Yeah, all the governments do it to their senior politicians. The reality is it's easier to protect something the closer you can actually get to it. Do you rely on your border guards and your customs agent to protect your president? And the answer is absolutely not. Why? Because it's daft. And that's not a reflection on how good the American border service is. You asked me about that one over a beer. If anyone wants to see it, I'll catch me later. I'll bring down the green form for aliens to visit. Anyone know what moral turpitude is? Have you ever been convicted of moral turpitude is one of the questions on the back of the immigration form for a British citizen. There we are. So if anyone could tell me what moral turpitude is. Okay, it's easier to protect the data the closer we get to it. It's obvious when we think about it. We've said this before, hardened business, it's at odds. What we're trying to do at the border is totally at odds with the business saying do it faster, quicker, cheaper. And ultimately, it's this: hardened perimeter strategy is unsustainable. I still have a hardened border, supposedly hardened border. I have firewalls. Yeah, I have a network that I currently run within ICI. But ultimately, your hardened perimeter strategy is unsustainable. So what is it actually? What does it boil down to? Well, first of all, deperimeterization is a concept. It's not a solution. And it's going to be different for everyone in this room. It's how we solve the business needs. My business need for my business. It's a concept. I apply the concept my way to solve my business needs. You take the same concept and apply the concept in your business to solve your business needs. The principles are exactly the same, and we're going to talk about principles, the principles in the minute when we get on to the commandments. But the principles are exactly the same, but the solutions may be different. So it's not about there's going to be a standard for deperimeterization, or you're going to go out and buy the tool from this company that's going to solve all your deperimeterization problems. You'd be surprised after I've done talks like this, the salesman who come up to me and says, I've got the solution. And I say, yeah, but I don't know what the problem is yet. Ultimately, for businesses, it's how you leverage all those new opportunities, and we'll talk about some of those later. I can talk about some of the ways we're leveraging the opportunities for actually deperimeterizing. It's a set of solutions, it's a framework, it is defense in depth. A lot of people say it's but surely you're driving a coach and horses through the whole concept of defence in depth. And I say, well, what do you mean by defence in depth? And they say, well, we have a perimeter, and then we have network segregation, and we have some more firewalls, and we have some more network segregation, and we have some VLANs. And I say, yeah, but aren't you doing anything other than network? So it is defence in depth. People contrast the concept of certainly the Middle Age forts where you had, the castle keep where you kept your crown jewels. If you've been to London, we still keep the crown jewels in the castle keep. And then you have a series of perimeter defences. But when you actually look at what they did, it wasn't just one wall after another. Every single layer of those defences was different. If you got through the moat at the first line, you then got hit by the archers firing the arrows high into the air. If you then managed to get up to the wall, they would drop stones on you or boiling oil. You then had to scale the wall, and at the top there were men actually with swords and spears to push the ladders back and everything else. And then if you got in, there was another layer of defences, etc., etc. Every single type of defence was different. It wasn't the same one repeated over and over again, which is what we do with network security. Ultimately, it's business-driven, unashamedly. And it's not a single solution, it's a way of thinking. So, where does the Jericho Forum fit into this? Well, the big problem is that 3 years ago when we started this, no one else was discussing the problem. Basically, a bunch of mainly European, but all with global responsibilities, CISOs, were sitting around after a conference much like this, drinking beer and complaining about the state of the world and not getting enough money to do the job and, all the other stuff you discuss after these things. And the problem is, we all sort of sitting complaining, and I've got another checkpoint. Anyone here from Checkpoint? Okay, right, that's fine. We all complain that, yes, I've got another Checkpoint salesman trying to sell me a deep packet inspection firewall, saying my deep packet inspection firewall goes deeper than his deep packet inspection firewall and will go at gigabit speeds rather than LANs, And we all say, yeah, but we don't want that. It's not where we see our businesses going. So, everyone was fixated on perimeter-based designs, or the industry was 3 years ago, and someone actually needed to point out, the king's new clothes. The king has no clothes. This is a problem to the world, and basically we needed to start the discussion. So, yeah, unashamedly, the deperimeterization word got invented. For good or bad, probably bad, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it does accurately define the problem. What's in it for us? Because at the end of the day, I get paid to do a day job. I don't get paid to do the Jericho Forum. I don't get paid to, by my company to stand up here before you. What's in it for us? We need solutions. At the end of the day, as a CISO of a large global corporate, I need to be able to buy solutions to solve my problems. And if the industry out there isn't making them, I've got a problem down the line when my business says we want to do this, that, or the other. So we need to stimulate the market, or we needed to stimulate the market 3 years back, and actually get the industry discussing the problem and getting the products. The bottom line is that if you want something in 2 years' time, it's in the R&D labs today. So if you don't influence it, you're not going to get it. More importantly, the solutions have to use open standards, and this is key, because as we talk about moving outside of our individual businesses and our individual sort of locus of control, where we get to set the standards